Looking at Psalm 151, which would be here, this psalm has been removed from the majority of the Bibles we have access to. This psalm is found in most copies of the Septuagint. It's also included in some manuscripts of the Peshitta. And this psalm is about David and Goliath. The Eastern Orthodox, Coptic Orthodox, Armenian Apostolic, and Syrian Orthodox churches accept Psalm 151 as canonical. Catholics, Protestants, and most Jews consider it apocryphal, although it is found in some Catholic Bibles, such as certain editions of the Latin Vulgate. Psalm chapter 151 appears in the Great Psalm Scroll, or 11Q5, a scroll dating from the 1st century, which was discovered in 1956. This being called the Great Psalm Scroll is the most substantial and well-preserved manuscript of Psalms of 37 discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Qumran caves. I will compare two different translations to Psalm chapter 151. One is from a Bible called the Sefer, and the other is from the Greek translation. The Sefer has 87 books. 81 of them were canonized in 1611 in the King James, and 6 additional books were considered to be inspired or historically significant. A Thanksgiving of David. I was the youngest among my brethren and a youth in my father's house. I used to feed my father's flock, and I found a lion and a wolf and slew them and rent them. My hands made a flute and my fingers fashioned a harp. Who will show me my Adonai? He, my Adonai, is become my Elohim. He sent his angel and took me away from my father's flock and anointed me with the oil of anointing. My brethren, the fair and the tall, in them Yahweh had no pleasure. And I went forth to meet the Pelishtai, and he cursed me by his idols. But I drew his sword and cut off his head and took away the reproach from the children of Yasharel. The Greek translation of Psalm 151 says, I was small among my brothers, and the youngest of my father's sons. I was shepherd of my father's sheep. My hands made a musical instrument, my fingers strung a lap harp. Who will tell my Lord? The Lord himself, the Lord hears me. The Lord himself sent his messenger and took me away from my father's sheep. He put special oil on my forehead to anoint me. My brothers were good-looking and tall, but the Lord didn't take special pleasure in them. I went out to meet the Philistine, who cursed me by his idols. But I took his own sword out of its sheath and cut off his head. So I removed the shame from the Israelites. The account of David and Goliath is 1 Samuel 17. The King James Version says, David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. The Sefer translation said it was a lion and a wolf, and the Greek translation did not mention specific animals. I did find a study footnote that said some Syriac versions include the notation that David had killed a lion and a wolf. I wanted to see what the Latin Vulgate said, so I ran Psalm 151 through a Latin to English translator. This psalm is written by David, and in addition to the number when he fought with Goliath. My hands have made an organ, my fingers have fitted the lyre. And whoever will announce to my Lord, the Lord himself will hear everything. He himself sent his angel and took me from my father's sheep and anointed me in the mercy of his anointing. My brothers are good and great, and the Lord was not pleased with them. I went out to meet the stranger, and he cursed me in his images. But I escaped from him with his own sword and cut off his head and took away the reproach of the children of Israel. At times it feels like the world is Goliath and we battle giants, but we keep our hope and our trust and our faith in him and know that he hears our prayers and our cries.